Major Arcana, the Magician, Personal Magic. There is a kind of magic that really works, and is not merely a matter of trickery, sleight of hand, hocus pocus, or stage illusions. Magic, the possibility of the impossible, is nothing more than becoming one with yourself, with God, and the world. The number of this card, 1, cannot be divided by any other number in tarot. Significantly, the term indivisible has the same Latin root as individual. We are all artists and magicians. On this card, Dali himself poses as a magus, as the magician, displaying paraphernalia from some of his best-known works on the table. He thus draws attention to himself, and yet we realize that each individual being is invited to take part according to their own individual talents and qualities. On your personal journey, you go through unique experiences and come up with solutions that no one has ever arrived at previously. As if under a wonderful spell, but your personal magic is not really supernatural. It is merely a matter of successfully fashioning your own unique existence by drawing on your special talents and qualities. The flames in the picture symbolize the life force, the fire of creation and transmutation lying dormant in each of us. The bread and wine on the table stand for the individual's participation in the divine act of creation. The soft clock represents the elasticity and uniqueness of your personal lifetime, while the scroll on the table implies that you should take command of your own life by making plans and determining your own role. Like the columns in the composition, all aspects of your personality should complement each other and unite in serving a higher purpose. To this end, it is important to stay open, blue background, to go beyond your current limitations, just as the picture breaks through the upper frame, and to see you work within a larger context, taking into account the upper corners of the image. Practical advice. No one can misappropriate or take away your special talents. As if under a Practical advice. No one can misappropriate or take away your special talents and qualities. Use your imagination, creativity, and communication skills. Make your very own distinctive contribution. Pictorial sources top the arches of the Chapel, Paris, bottom, The Last Supper, 1955. The National Gallery of Art, Chester Dale Collection, Washington, D.C. Salvador Dali takes the place of Christ. Personalische Magiae. Es gibt eine Superkraft, die tatsächlich funktioniert, die sich nicht in Fantasterien, Tricks oder Gaukeln erschöpft, die Magie, die Möglichkeit des Unmöglichen besteht darin, mit sich, mit Gott und der Welt eins zu werden. Die Karte in die eins ist auf der Ebene der Jollen des Terror nicht teilbar. Magie personnelle. Il existe une force magique qui fonctionne réellement sans se réduire à des phantasmagories. Trucs et autres tours de passe-passe. Cette magie, la possibilité de l'impossible, consiste à ne faire qu'une avec soi, Dieu et le monde. Les chiffres de la carte, le 1 n'est pas divisible. Dans le domaine des chiffres du tarot est indivisible, signifié individuum in latin. Nous sommes tous des artistes et des magiciens dans cette image, dans le se mettre lui-même en scène. L'image attire d'abord l'attention sur la personne de Dali, tout en soulignant l'importance d'entrer soi-même en jeu. In the mid-1970s, Salvador Dali created the Tarot Universal Dali, which was originally published as a limited edition signed artwork. Based on the age-old tradition of the tarot, Dali created a new artistic version by drawing on nearly 78 masterpieces of Western civilization, from antiquity to modernity, including some of his own. He thus, at the age of 70, became one of the many great names in art history to surrender to the magic of playing cards. The tarot has fascinated not only Dali but many other artists as well, ranging from Andrea Mantegna, 1465, and Albrecht Dürer to Giuseppe Maria Metelli, 1664, and Nicky de Saint-Fallet, 2000. Many artists have used the medium of playing cards as an experimental arena for the portrayal of dramatic or lascivious scenes. The following list of names, which is by no means complete, reflects the rich artistic variety and the creative use of playing cards. Conrad Witz, 1440, Sebastian Brandt, 1494, Virgil Solis, 1540. In the mid-1970s, Virgil Solis, 1540, Jos de Mal, 1588, Henry de Saint-Simon, 1793, Philip Otto Runge, 1810, Max Ernst, 1941, Sonia Delaunay, 1958, Jean de Buffet, 1968, Karl Koreb, 1973, Jean Varenne, 1991, and many more. This book presents the first comprehensive research into the pictorial sources and the modern psychological interpretation of the Dali Tarot, a thrilling discovery of its mysteries. A traveler through the universe of the Tarot Universal Dali will be confronted repeatedly with three stylistic elements. Artistic ability is sharply contrasted with provocative crudeness, thereby creating a mood that is surprisingly surreal. With a light stroke of his brush, Dali often added a human figure or a human head to the cards, as if he were trying to emphasize the meaning of the card with this ghostly being or shadowy figure. Appearing on many of the cards is a butterfly, traditionally a symbol of the psyche, or a crutch. According to Dali, Virgil Solis, 1540, Jos de Mal. According to Dali, the crutch has a double meaning and represents the dualism of consciousness and unconsciousness, of outer and inner worlds. The crutch helps to connect the two worlds and to open up a window between two realities. Das Tarot Universal Dali entstand Mitte der 1970er Jahre und wurde zunächst als signierte Grafikserie in limitierter Auflage veröffentlicht. Basierend auf der gewandelten Tarot-Tradition gestaltete Dali ein neues Künstler-Tarot mit 78 Bildzitaten aus der abendländischen Kunst, die von der Antike bis zur Neuzeit zu seinen eigenen Kunstwerken reichten. Tarot Universal Dali. When the unprecedented tarot boom started in the early 1970s, Dali created his version of the 78 cards of the Tarot Universal Dali. Some famous poets and writers such as T.S. Eliot and Italo Calvino had already incorporated the tarot into the works, but Dali was the first well-known painter to create a completely new set of cards. Other famous painters, sculptors, and filmmakers would soon follow. One of them was the French-American artist Nicky de Saint-Fallet, who created her famed tarot garden in the south of Tuscany in Italy. This booklet will help to shed light on the subject of the great artistic importance of Dali's tarot. The tarot cards of Salvador Dali provide a stupendous kaleidoscope of art history. Dali combined artistic genius, knowledge of the meaning of symbols, and creative finesse with skillfully chosen pictorial sources taken from the entire history of European art. The result is an inimitable series of images, a new version which brilliantly engages the spirit of the first tarot cards. The making of Tarot Universal Dali. The making of the Dali Tarot. It is no surprise that legends concerning the making of the Dali Tarot have emerged. It can be said with certainty that several people assisted Dolly in the preparation of his tarot cards. Isidore Beyer, who worked with Dolly for several years, is one of his better known collaborators. She contributed to Dolly's bigger pictures, but not to his tarot. Some people claim that Dolly's friend Amanda Lear created one or even several of the cards, but this has not been substantiated by reliable sources. It is, however, certain that Dolly's wife, Gala, was an avid card reader even during the Franco years when this practice was outlawed. It is also certain in the 1941 a circle of surrealists created a deck of 22 cards in Marseille, and that a Paris-based publishing house issued a deck of playing cards consisting of two sets of 54 cards by Salvador Dali in 1966. The biographers agree that Dali signed a contract for 1978 for 78 tarot cards in the 1970s, after which time his contract partners changed a number of times. Eventually, a New York publisher bought it. The making of the Dolly Tarot. When Dolly delayed the delivery of the deck or stopped working the cards altogether, he was sued in a New York court, and a rather large amount of money in his American accounts was frozen. On January 30th, 1975, the Diario de Barcelona reported lawsuit in the U.S. Publisher demands the delivery of 78 gauchets, colored drawings by Dolly. The case was settled out of court, but Dolly had to sign about 20,000 print sheets, 250 for each card, in 1976 to 77. Around that time, Dolly engaged a new secretary by the name of Enrique Sabater, who succeeded in regaining control of the tarot drawings and integrating them into the firm's Distributions d'Art Surrealista and Dasa Dolly Sabater, whereby the New York gallery of Gertrude Stein distributed the prints. Napes com Mas, the well-established catalog printer of playing cards located near Barcelona, published the work in 83 to 84 as a complete deck of tarot cards. In 2010, the owners sold Napes Comas to Cartamundi, the leading European playing card manufacturer. The life of Salvador Dali. Salvador Felipe Jacinto Dali y Domenech was born on May 11, 1904 at 8:45 a.m. in Figueres, Catalonia, Spain. His artistic talent had already become evident in his early school years. In 1918, the first works of the then 14-year-old Dali are shown in the Municipal Theatre. He also tries his hand at writing, an interest he will pursue throughout his life. After his mother's death, he moves to Madrid in October 1921 and enrolls at the Art Academy of San Fernando. In the student dormitory, he makes the acquaintance of Federico Garcia Lorca, who later becomes his friend and confidant, as well as Louis Buñuel, Pepin Bello, and others. In 1923, Dali is expelled for a year after harshly criticizing the competence of his professors. In 1926, he is expelled for good. On his first trip to Paris in April 1926, he meets Pablo Picasso. The life of Salvador Dali. Salvador. On his first trip to Paris in April 1926, he meets Pablo Picasso for the premiere of the play Mariana Pineda by his friend Garcia Lorca. Dali signs the set as well as the costumes. In 1923, during his second stay in Paris, he makes the film An Andalusian Dog with Buñuel and meets the surrealists André Breton and Paul Eluard. He falls in love with Eluard's wife, Gala, who becomes his lover, wife, and muse. After a solo exhibition of his works in Paris, he has his first American exhibition. In 1934, Dali travels to the United States for the first time. Other exhibitions in New York and London follow and are triumphal successes. In 1935, Dali lectures at the Museum of Modern Art in New York on the art of surrealism. He makes the cover of Time. He designs Dream of Venus, a pavilion for the 1939 New York World's Fair. He makes the cover of Time. He designs Dream of Venus, a pavilion for the 1939 New York World's Fair. Fleeing the chaos of World War II in Europe, Dali and Gala moved to the United States in 1941, the first retrospective of his works is shown in his autobiography, The Secret Life of Salvador Dali, is published. Other texts, novels, and plays are published as well. In 1948, the Dalis return to Spain. The following years, Dali paints, writes, and produces tirelessly. His paintings alone number more than 1,600. Major exhibitions all over the world add to Dali's fame, and the prices of his works reach astronomical figures. Because of his genius, Dali is considered to be one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. Because of his eccentric lifestyle, he becomes a favorite of the media. During his last years, he withdraws more and more and suffers from depression and other ailments of old age. He never quite recovers from Gala's death in 1982. That same year, he receives the title of Marquis de Molly de Pubol. In 1984, Dali suffers severe burns. The cover of Time. He designs. In 1984, Dali suffers severe burns resulting from a fire in his bedroom. He dies on January 23, 1989, in the Torre Galatea. In keeping with his wishes, he is buried in a crypt below the stage of the Dali Theatre Museum in Figueres. Surrealism, the reality of the other world. In Paris-based Dada movement was the forerunner of Surrealism, which includes all genres. André Breton, 1896 to 1966, broke with Dada after an unsuccessful attempt to reorganize the movement. Breton then created a theoretical and methodical foundation, which was to become the basis of Surrealism. The term Surrealism was coined by Guillaume Apollinaire, 1880 to 1918, who gave his 1917 play Les Marmalades de Thérésias, the subtitle, a surrealist drama. In his 1924 manifesto, Premier Manifeste du Surréalisme, Breton defined the term as a spontaneous verbal expression of the unconscious. In